Okay. Listening. So you fill in the chart. Sometimes you'll be given the whole chart. Sometimes you'll be given some of the numbers and you fill in the rest, but we know how to do that. Yes? Okay. Number 1. So this is in a parking lot where there's 200 vehicles. They're either black, silver, white, cars, trucks, or vans. Got it? Got it. All right. You go into this parking lot and you grab a vehicle at random. What's the probability you get a white vehicle?
100%. I mean, not 100%.
100 out of
200.
200, which is
50%.
1/2 or 50%. I'm going to leave mine as fractions on these. I don't change them to decimals or percents unless I have to. And this is not a have to situation. All right, number 2. What's the probability it is a car or white? We talked about this on Tuesday. Do you guys remember what the word or means? And was times, or was plus, adding. All right, now let's take a look. First one is car. Can you guys tell me how many cars we have? 100. Does everybody see that 100 cars across this way? Yeah. Okay, how many white vehicles do I have?
100.
100. You guys see the 100 down this way? Okay, now what problem am I running into when I add 36 plus 12 plus 52 is 100, and then I add 52 plus 34 plus 14 is 100? What problem am I running into? We talked about it the other day when I talked about doing this plus this, and we had the overlap. We counted it twice. Do you guys remember that? So we subtracted the overlap. What number am I counting twice? So we have to minus. The formula is going to be like this: the probability that it is a car plus the probability that it is white minus the overlap. Minus the overlap. Got it? Does that make sense? All right, so what's the probability that it is a car? How many do we have? 100 out of 200. Plus, what's the probability it is white?
100.
100 over 200. Take away, what is the overlap?
52.
And why? Because that's the number I counted twice, when I added up across this way and when I added down across this way.
Do you have to do 52 over 200?
I write it like this just so I can see everything the same, but technically what you're doing is 100 plus 100 minus the 52. You don't have to worry about the 200 until the end. Why is that? Because the denominators are all the same. So really you're doing 100 plus 100 minus 52. Can anybody plug that in their calculator?
48.
I'm sorry, what is it?
148.
148 over 200. And you do have to reduce your fractions. You can start dividing by 2 or 4, or these calculators, if you have one of mine or one of your own, they reduce for you. And I've shown you this before. Does anybody want to see it again?
Yes.
All right. My fraction key is here. Your fraction key might be either like on this side or in the same area, but it might be A, B, fraction C. Does everybody find the fraction key? All right, so you type in 148 fraction 200 equals, and it reduces it for you. Now, if you didn't have one of these calculators, could you just divide by 4, top and bottom? And then keep dividing if needed. All right, so what does 148 over 200 reduce to?
37 over 30.
37 over,
What am I talking about? Like the actual fraction.
what is your fraction? Does it look like
Also known as 74%.
also what?
74%.
Okay, so you divided it.
Yeah.
So he said 37 divide by 50 and 74%, which is also fine. You can write it that way.
I did it differently. I just times both of them by 2.
To get it to 100 in the denominator. That's good. That's good. All right, can I see your calculator? And it's just because he asked why. Does anybody coming out with a fraction like this? And that's okay. It's still working. It's just the math mode. He's in math print where I'm in classic. I tend to like to work in classic, but math print works as well. Your choice. Got it? All right. Okay. Number 3, I'm going to have you try the probability it is a car or, and I'm going to erase that, black or truck, sorry. Probability is, sorry, it is black or truck. All right, now you do need to remember the formula. When it's or, what do we do? Probability of black plus or times?
Plus
Plus, probability it is a truck, and what do we have to remember at the end? Minus overlap. All right, put your phones away. We are working. Make your fractions. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to do that on your own. Once you have your answer and you've reduced it, please check with the person sitting next to you. All right, black. How many black vehicles do I have? 80 out of, plus how many trucks do we have? 68 out of 200. And is there overlap with black and trucks? You're saying it's what, Peyton? Does everyone agree with her? All right, so we're looking at black vehicles and the trucks, and she's saying it overlaps at the 28. Do we all agree? All right, so when you do 80 plus 68 minus 28, what do you get? 120 over. When I reduce, I like to cross out zeros when I can, and 12 over 20 is a number I can reduce without a calculator. What goes into both 12 that goes into 20?
2.
4. What's 12 divided by 4?
3.
3. What's 20 divided by 4?
5.
Did anybody from the get-go just plug it in like really quick and get the same answer when you reduced it in your calculator? Good. All right, questions? All right, number, no, we give some a little more difficult, which we'll see, I know. All right, probability it is a car or a van. All right, what's our formula? Probability it is a car plus or multiplication. Or is plus. Probability it is a van minus the overlap. What is the overlap? All right, so let's put our markings on. How many cars do we have? Okay. All these cars here is 100, yes or no? Out of 200, plus how many vans?
32.
32. Minus the overlap. Do they overlap?
No.
No, there's not a car van or a van car. There's no overlap. Don't tell me what there really is out there. In this chart, there is no overlap. All right, so minus 0. What does that mean if there's no overlap? We have a name for that. The two events are mutually exclusive. Close. And why are they mutually exclusive? Because they cannot happen at the same time. All right. Make sense? All right, so you're always going to add and subtract overlap, and it's just in some cases, like when they're mutually exclusive, there will be no overlap. It is 0. Can anybody tell me another mutually exclusive but going this way? Something going this way. Yes.
Black or white.
Good. If it's a car that's black or white, you would say 80 plus 100, 180 over 200 minus the overlap. And would there be any overlap?
No.
No. All right, questions. Number 5, the probability it is a car and it is
We didn't solve them before.
white. Oh, thank you. It is white. All right, 100 and what?
32.
Thank you for pointing that out. 132 over 200. Reduce it by hand or plug it in your calculator. I heard somebody say it. What is it?
33.
By hand or you plugged it in? And it works nicely, doesn't it? 33 over 50. Okay. Next one, probability it is a car and white. Did we do car or white earlier? What's the difference? Does using the word or and make a difference? Does anybody remember from Tuesday what and was? Multiplication. Now, I'm glad you guys remembered that, but guess what? We don't do multiplication with charts. Okay, here's why. I want to know, look at the chart. What's the probability when I pick a vehicle at random that it's a car and it's white? Can anybody tell me that looking at the numbers?
Oh, yeah.
That it's what is it?
100.
Nope. Think of it. I want it when I pick one car that it's white and it's a car at the same time.
1.
52. So is there any multiplying going on there? No. When you have a two-way table, you are not multiplying. What does and mean on these two-way tables? It has a word, we talked about it yesterday, the overlap. All right. So when you're working with the table and they use the word and, it stands for overlap. It's the overlap that we're subtracting over here. So where do the car and the white overlap? 52 white cars. Do you see that? So 52 out of 200, and that's it. Reduce. There's no adding, there's no subtracting, definitely not any multiplying. 52 over 200. And what does that reduce to? 13 over 50. All right. Questions before we move on? I want to quickly write down some formulas up at the top before I move on to number 6. Probability with the two-way table, probability of A or B. What's the formula? Is this the one where we add or multiply or overlap? Do we ever multiply? I'm going to restart. Do we ever multiply with these charts? No. So this is the one where we do what? Add. So it would be P of A plus P of B on my laptop. And then what do we put at the end? Minus overlap. That's with the chart. All right. What's the other formula? What word would they use instead of or? Probability of A and B. And as tempting as it is to say, multiply, do we multiply? No, we only multiply when it was notes like we did on Tuesday, when they give you numbers and decimals like this. What's the probability of C and D? And then you multiply them together. That's not the case with the two-way table. So what is a probability? What is it? What's the word we used here? Overlap. Questions?
We're gonna get through some of that.
Mm-mm. All right, we're good? Well, the formulas, is that what you're saying? Or the type? Yeah, the formulas won't be given. Yes. Good question. All right, next one. Number 6. He's ahead of me, so let me write down number 6. Probability. It is a truck and van. Pay attention to the word. The word and. Is that where we add or is that where we look for the overlap? Overlap. So look for the overlap. Jeremiah. Thank you. All right. I heard somebody say it. And is always overlap. We don't get to choose. Or is the adding and subtract the overlap, and is strictly the overlap with these two-way tables. Is there overlap? I have truck and I have van. What's the answer? 0. What does that mean? They are mutually exclusive.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. They are mutually exclusive. All right. Makes sense. Christian, was that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So when there is no overlap, and that's what they're asking you for, your answer would just be 0. Can anybody give me another overlap or non-overlap question that they would ask that your answer would be 0? Probability it is
Car and van.
car and van. I heard colors.
White, silver.
White and silver, or black and white. All of those would have been 0 because they're using the word and, which means overlap, and none of those overlap. Questions on any of this before I move on? All right. Number 6. 7. Thank you. Probability, it is not van. Not a van. I just want to get practice working the formula. What's the formula? 1 minus the probability that it is a van. How many vans do we have? Can anybody tell me without doing anything, if I have 32 vans, how many vehicles are not vans? That would be these two here, right? So how many vehicles are not vans? So could you just say 168 out of 200? Yes. I want to get practice with the formula again when there are harder problems. So what is the probability of getting a van? 32 out of 200. And what do I make the 1 into what fraction if I want a common denominator? And what's 200 take away 32? What is it? And is that what we got earlier? 168 out of 200. Look at your chart. If there are 32 vans, do we all agree there are 168 vehicles that are not vans? Mm-hmm. All right. Reduce by hand or plug in your calculator. 21 over 25. Thank you. Questions? Okay. Number 8. Probability, van, vertical line, black. Okay, what the heck does that mean? That line means given. What the heck does given mean? I will explain. So you might see it with the vertical line, or you might see it like this. The probability it is a van given it is black. The probability it's a van given it's a black vehicle. All right. Everybody ready to hear how to do this? Put your phones away. Put your earbuds away. You guys, let's go. Focus. All right. What you do is you focus only here at whatever comes at the very end, after the word given or after the vertical line. And that is your new denominator. That is your new denominator. And the reason is because you're now focusing only on what vehicles. In this case, only on what vehicles? The black. So we go to our chart and we focus only here. And that is my new set of data. Everything else is gone. How many black vehicles do I have? 80. Of those 80, how many are vans? So what's my fraction? Not 16 over 200, but 16 over 80. And that's it, you reduce. Would you like me to explain that again? All right, so when you do this, you look at what comes at the end. Always at the end is your new set, your new data. So van, given it's a black vehicle. So we look at only the black vehicles. How many black vehicles do I have? 80. So of those 80 only, how many are vans? 16 out of 80. Questions? All right, number 9. Probability, it is white line car. What does that line mean again? Given. All right, so what are you focusing on? What's your new denominator? Car. So it's flipped around from this one. This one we focused on a color and then the type of vehicle. This one here we had color and then the type of vehicle. Here we have the type and then the color. So focus on the cars. And of those cars, how many are white? Focus on the car. All the cars. How many cars are there? And of those 100 cars, how many of them are white? So what's your fraction? All right, I'm going to show you in the chart. Cars is across this way. Do you agree? Everything else is gone. How many vehicles am I dealing with at this point? Only 100. Of those 100, how many of them are white? 52. 52 out of 100. What does that reduce to? 13 over 25. All right, next one, number 10. Probability, it is not silver, given it is not a van. Probability, it is not silver, given it is not a van.
How many more are we going to do?
This is it.
Okay.
All right, and with the knots on these, because they're in this given type problem, I'm not going to work with 1 minus. We're just going to use our charts like we did earlier. Okay, what do I look at first? The not silver or the not van? This is the part I always focus on first. Let's come over here. Where are the vans? Do you agree this is the row of vans? If it's not vans, that means it's everything else. How many vehicles do I have that are not vans?
168.
So what's my new denominator going to be? 168 because I took the vans out. Of those 168, how many are not silver? What am I going to take away from the 168? Where's the 18 coming from? The 12 and the 6, right? 12 silver cars, 12 silver trucks. There are 18 silver vehicles altogether. So can you guys do that now? 68 take away what? 18. 68 take away 18. What does that give you? What is it? So 50 over, what was the new denominator? Over 168. Does everybody see how we got that? These are on the quiz tomorrow, by the way. Yes?
What do you subtract to get 15?
So let me show you again. The 168 is coming from taking out the vans. And the 50 you can get a variety of ways. Of these 100, and it's not 50. How did you guys get 50?
That's just for trucks.
Yeah.
34 and
Thank you. Do you have it, Chauncey? Did you do the 168 take away 18? 150. I wrote it or I heard it wrong. Yes, is it 150?
Oh, 18.
Bless you. All right, where's the 150 coming from? 168 minus 18. Why minus 18? Because there are 18 vehicles that are what? And we want them to not be silver. So you either do 168 minus 18, or you could have done not silver or these, and you could have added those together. 36 plus 28 plus 15 plus 34 And if you added those together, you'd still end up with 150. Got it? Is that a yes? All right. Reduce 150 divided by 168. What does that reduce to? Anybody have it? 25 over what?
28.
28. All righty. Questions?